This is the Hartford Online Radio Network. 21st Century Audio. Delivered on thehorn.com.
Good evening, everyone. This is Albert Brenner, the Economic Observer, here on the Hartford Online Radio Network on Monday, July 18th, with my friend and colleague at the control panel.
I'm a colleague now. I love it. That's
absolutely.
Great. Friend and colleague.
Yes, indeed.
Master of ceremony.
Yes, well, you are. And we're brought to you today by Gateway Financial Group, the accounting firm of Budwitz and Meyerjack, Deepwater Seafood of Avon, more about that in just a minute, Sherpa Technologies, and the Gengris Auto Group.
All fine people. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm glad.
Special thank you to Budwitz and Meyerjack for just renewing.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes, great job there. Deepwater Seafood, by the way, Farmington Valley's freshest seafood store will work with you and your schedule. Call ahead at 860-676-9657. Order by fax at 860-677-2281. We're going to tell you more about that in a little bit. I don't know what Brian will think of me cutting the commercial content here in half, but
we got a big subject today.
Oh boy, do we have a bit? Well, okay. First of all,
I had to put the jacket back on for this topic.
Yes, and it's warm in the studio, folks, as you can imagine. And for Brian to put his his jacket on, yes, yeah. Well, don't do it for me. It's for the audience.
That's what I did. I went all for you.
Okay,
I didn't go all for you.
All right, okay.
I do so much for you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna be talking about numbers here, but to start with, here's your quiz.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
476 million.
476 million.
The question is, how much did the release of Harry Potter, The Deathly Hallows Part 2 gross this weekend worldwide? 476 million. Almost $500 million.
That's pretty good.
That's right. Okay.
How much did GDP gross this last month?
Well, we know one thing.
Did Hollywood trump the GDP for last month? That's a great question.
Yeah, it could be, at least domestically, it was at least 176 or 180 some million. Okay, 3-1.
Yeah.
Another number, 3-1.
3-1. Let's see. Women's World Cup?
That's right. Yes,
Holy cow.
Yes.
Out of the blue. I really didn't know that one.
Yeah, but it's the penalty
3-1.
Penalty kicks, after a 2-2 tie. Congratulations to Japan. They've had a tough year, so it's hard for America to lose that one, but good for Japan. Now this is a number that, of course, you just gave me. So 1.6 billion.
Well, 1.6 billion would be the debt that we need to cover in the state of Connecticut,
right,
with the remaining, negotiations for Governor Daniel Malloy. He's gotten about $1.6 billion in tax increases, so that would cover the $3.2 billion.
So we're looking at about 6,000 job layoffs here, including apparently closing the oldest continuous operating ferry in the United States, which apparently the local residents claim is an absolute necessity, and that leaves me scratching my head because it only runs for 6 months a year.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a necessity.
I don't know.
Whoever said that is just full of hooey. But
I don't know.
I've seen the ferry. It can take 3 cars over at a time.
It's quaint. So, folks,
it's quaint. It really is. It's nice.
If you want to come, you better come to Connecticut quick. We're trying to boost tourism a little bit.
Let's see. CBAC leaders vote to change bylaws, allow for another vote. This is breaking news from just it was a little over an hour or so ago. CTNewsJunkie.com covers it. So they are breaking or changing. They're breaking their own laws. They're changing their own bylaws. Yeah. So the rank and file can vote again on whether or not to accept the governor's deal. Yeah. But so there was a big game of chicken. Looks like the governor came out on top.
Those of you who aren't familiar with that, CBAC is the negotiating group, combined entity for all of the state worker unions, 15 or 16
Yeah,
different unions?
well, it's quite a few of them. Yeah,
it's quite a group. So, I don't have other main economic events here are, of course, for those of you who are in the stock market, this is earnings season. End of the quarter, of course, as of June 30th. So we're getting numbers, and that's
what a horrendous beginning of the year.
Yeah, so
it was a good time to be in bonds, up a little over 2%. S&P 500 basically nothing.
Yeah,
cash finally outperformed something, which was amazing, and who know up and down in the international markets, the Morgan Stanley EFA index there.
Yeah, the I had a solicitation from some company, and don't remember the name offhand. Saw it over the weekend. Selling or pitching software that apparently the Defense Department uses in forecasting, and this is apparently uses a particular type of new decision making analysis, and the Defense Department has found it highly effective at forecasting things.
Ooh, excuse me. That was my fault. I leaned over and hit something. I shouldn't have done that.
Okay, and apparently, according to this particular analytical program, they say it is definite that Greece will default. Which is, I
mean, because we're running out of other people's money to prop them up, much like we are here. And Doug was I was talking to our good friend Doug Hardy from the Independent Media Network, and he was saying, what about, is there a case to be made from 9/11 to now that they wanted to hurt the American economy? And here we are on the precipice of defaulting as a nation. Could you make an argument that the terrorists won, or at least accomplished their goal?
Well, you might, but I think it's a weak argument. Unfortunately, the damage we've done here, I think, is self-inflicted. But we have met the enemy, and he is us.
I don't doubt it, but it certainly shook everybody to the core.
And it's exacerbated the problem, of course, with the cost of the wars and the increased cost of domestic security.
Yeah, and also all the stuff that you talk about the velocity of money has been kind of propped up now. The velocity of money important for the economy to keep going, to keep kind of regenerating itself, almost like a forest fire.
Spend
kind of
that
thing.
Money, right?
You know, it's a bad thing, but a good thing. But it's all being propped up by federal dollars, which can't. And now you have the large corporations; they're just hoarding their cash.
Yeah.
So.
Well, my last number then.
Okay, your last number.
My last number,
Here
and this will get us right into. I think we've covered everything.
The last number from Professor Brenner.
15.
15.
15.
The average PE ratio of an S&P 500 stock.
No, actually, it's less than that. So the valuations are good, but no, this is it's a measure of time. 15
months
15
before we default?
15 days.
15 days
till August 2nd.
Oh, until the Social Security checks stop.
Yeah, until we have to get our act in order and keep Alexander Hamilton from turning over in his grave. So, folks, along that line here, we're finally getting to the subject matter today.
It's very exciting.
It's earnings season.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at the earnings of the U.S. government. Now, I found this report looking for something else online, and this is hopefully a bit of education for everyone, as it was for me, and that is the Department of the Treasury does in fact publish on a monthly basis, usually the 8th day of the month, the statement of earnings, if you will, the statement of condition of the state of the public finances for the United States Treasury as of the close of the previous month. And I think Brian actually has loaded up on the screen there the cover page of this document.
We do, and you will see it in our browser. So if you're viewing this and it's still a little too small, one, you can expand your screen. Two, if you want to, you can open up a new browser, and there's the website up top, fms.treas.gov/MTS/MTS 0611.pdf, and poof, it'll be on your computer so you can follow along with us at home.
Yeah,
or if you can expand your browser, the thing that you're viewing is on. I'm gonna make this as big as possible for you. So
great,
we'll do it.
Yeah, and some of the numbers, but this is a great resource. It's the definitive statement. It doesn't come from through some think tank or particular site. I mean, this is this is the statement from actually from the Treasury, and they didn't pull any punches. They got a graph right on the front cover that shows you what the receipts are. This is for the 9 months ending June 30th. The government's fiscal year, or their accounting year, goes from October 1st through September 30th. So as of June 30th, we've made it through 9 months of the current accounting or fiscal year. And you can see that receipts have totaled somewhere around $1.7 trillion. Outlays have totaled approximately $2.7 trillion. Therefore, on the right-hand side, we've got that bar that shows a deficit of about $1 trillion year to date. So, big numbers, as Brian had said. If you can flip to the next page, page 2, and down at the bottom of that page, they show actually the receipts, a summary of the receipts and outlays. And deficit, they include surplus as a possibility. That's interesting because we haven't had a surplus since the Clinton administration.
So everything's a deficit.
Everything's a deficit, right?
Even though it doesn't say minus.
That's true. Yes.
Okay.
Everything's a deficit. In fact, the deficits are so common that they have to indicate surpluses with minus signs.
Oh, isn't that? I just noticed that. Can you guys see that? Isn't that funny?
Yes.
Let me zoom in there for you.
Yeah, if you can see that. So, the interesting thing, of course, is that the month-to-month condition of the federal finances varies much according to the receipt of tax payments, and this is interesting, if for no other reason than to see the extent to which deficit, the size of the deficit ranges from month to month. So that, for example, there in February, the deficit for the month of February was $222 billion, whereas for the month of June, it was only 43. So there's a large swing in the dollar amounts there. And on the following,
so but you think of this in real numbers, which you almost can't when you deal with this stuff. You have to think of it as, you've gone from, I was overdrawn $220 from my checking account, but I made up for it because I was only withdrawn, $40 from my checking account a few months later, $80.
Right, yeah.
So that's more how you kind of have to think of it. I mean, the numbers in here are staggeringly huge. So
they are indeed. Then the next page, Brian, I don't know if you can flip to it. They have a chart at the bottom of what's now page 3 in this document, showing the.
Okay, that's the chart there. Okay, yep.
Yeah. Showing the this month by month, and you can see the sawtooth rather jagged results that come about here. So
we have a couple different things. So on the very bottom, I see deficit, surplus,
deficit.
Deficit.
Yeah.
And how does that relate to what's right above it?
Okay. So right above it, the top line, the solid line, are the outlays.
Yeah.
And the line below it, the dotted line, are the receipts.
So I've paid for all the top line.
Yep.
But I've only had income.
Right.
About the receipts. And now, so the difference, the deviation between those two gives us the solid black state on the bottom.
Right.
But it's not a 1-to-1 ratio.
Well, let's take a look. If you were to take a look, for example, August, let's say September of 2010, sort of just to
right
the
here,
right
if you can
of
see
the middle.
if you can see my mouse.
Yeah, just to the right of the middle.
Yep.
You can see that there's a very rather small distance between the outlay dark line on top,
right,
and the dotted line, and that translates then into a relatively small deficit down below. But then if you go out to February of this year, you can see again the outlays are a little bit higher, but receipts have dropped considerably,
Right.
resulting then in a very large deficit.
But you can see here, this is what I'm talking about, that you have to keep in mind, it's not a one-to-one, it's an accumulation of deficit here. So you would see in December on the receipts being just above 200,
Yep.
you would say, and outlays being around 300 or so. And the slope of the outlays declines greater than the slope of the receipts. And what does that do to the deficit on the very bottom? That actually brings it a little bit closer. So we're getting closer to being a balanced budget.
Right.
And then January comes and all heck
that's
breaks loose.
So this is you can see then that unlike your household budget which probably has a pretty steady stream of income and likewise a pretty steady stream of expenses, the federal budget, federal expenses, federal outlays and receipts move around a lot. Now, the use of the term outlays here is an important one. These are not expenses. This particular report by the Treasury takes into account everything that's getting paid out. That includes expenses, but it also includes transfer payments.
Transfer payments being like Social Security.
Exactly.
Stuff that we get income from, but we still have to pay it out anyway.
Yeah. So the broad all-inclusive term then is outlays. Then on the next page, on page 4, if we take a look at the top of that page, there we have a breakout of month by month, and we're going to look, by the way, shortly at some of the detail on this. But here we have a detail month by month of where these receipts are coming from, broken down into 3 major categories. The solid black band in the middle there are income taxes.
So this is the monthly receipts, income taxes. Okay.
Right, income taxes. The top bar that's shaded there are Social Security and retirement.
So that's the taxes levied on people getting their Social Security checks and for people making their
no. These are Social Security contributions. This is the FICA tax.
So what's retirement?
Okay. Well, they're lumping it all together: Social Security and retirement.
But what, the government doesn't get the money for their retirement? Talking about like inside your 401k?
Yeah, you're right. No, this is, but they're looking at. We could cut the retirement off. It's just Social Security.
Okay. So they're equating now Social Security is a retirement fund.
Right. Yeah. I mean that's
which is not true.
That they're
okay.
Right. And then of course there's a small bit down below that's got sort of like a brick pattern there. Other taxes and receipts. So you can see in terms of the receipts, it's overwhelmingly made up of income taxes and contributions for Social Security.
Yeah.
Okay. Then on the bottom of page 4, we see the outlays charted here month by month.
Okay.
And here we have 4 components, and you can read them off the chart perhaps. The top one are what we call the entitlement programs or the social welfare programs in the broadest sense now, Social Security and Medicare. We have below that other non-defense expenditures of the federal government.
So when I'm reading this, do I read that there's like a median line there for Social Security that it's about 300, what is this, in millions?
This is in billions, but you have to be careful because you have to measure the distance because it's the distance from one point to the next, if you follow me. These are additive.
So 1 month is 300 million
that's in total outlays. Of that 300 billion, you've got a chunk of it's Social Security, a chunk's is non-defense expense, some of it's national defense.
So
and then
for some reason in May, we send out fewer checks.
No, in May we spend less on non-defense government, on non-defense related government expenditures.
And Social Security.
Well, but Social Security, you see the width of the band hasn't changed too much. But yeah, perhaps it has dropped somewhat. That's curious. You would think it would remain fairly constant.
Okay.
But anyway, it gives you, again, some idea of the general order of magnitude of these particular.
So when we're doing, we do national defense, other non-defense spending,
yep.
Social Security, and then in that order is how much we spend on each.
Right.
So we spend more on Social Security and Medicaid than we do on national defense.
Absolutely.
And then what is other non-defense?
Well, that
is that pork?
No. Well, no. That's the cost of every other government program, or all the other arms of government. We can see that on the next page.
Okay.
Now this isn't a chart. This is not a graphic chart. This is numbers. I mean, lots and lots of numbers here.
Yes, it is.
But you can see budget outlays, and if you can scan down there, the biggest ones that are in there, and this is by the various branches of government. So
okay, so let's see here. We have this month, the current year to date, the prior year to date, and the budget estimates for full fiscal year.
Right. So let's look down the current fiscal year to date. If you can get that on the screen.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So on the top part, you can see that we've for the first 9 months of the year, we've taken in $1.7 trillion. You with me?
1.7 trillion total receipts. Got it.
This is at the top. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
right I'm highlighting it for the
great.
viewers at the same time. All right.
That's great. And on the line items above that, you can see where in fact that's coming from. The single largest piece of it is from individual income taxes.
Excellent. Love it.
Below that, it's corporate income taxes.
Corporate income taxes. Okay.
Americans, I think we're fond of wanting to have the companies, the corporations, pay more. Individual income taxes are the vast majority of government support.
Yeah, I mean, what you don't, I don't like the argument of corporations paying their fair share. The more successful and bigger the company is, the more people they're going to have to pay ordinary income tax.
Yes.
And let me tell you, ordinary income tax is a lot higher than federal.
Yeah.
Or than corporate taxes. Here in Connecticut, you can make up to $50,000 and not pay a dime.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't want corporations paying taxes. Yeah. You want individuals paying taxes.
Yeah. And of course, corporate earnings ultimately flow to individuals, so they end up getting taxed at that level. And our system has a dual taxation on corporations, which a lot of economists have argued is inefficient for the reasons that Brian just stated.
Well, it's interesting because when in my companies, whenever I am at the end of the year, and the accountant and all of us get together and we hash out the numbers, it could say, okay, well you have cash of $20,000 and profit of $25,000. Which is a terrible situation to be in. I have more profit than I have cash. Yeah. But the answer is that what's going to happen is I'm going to reduce the amount of profit for my corporation as much as I can, so I can take that personally. Now I'm going to be paying more in taxes, but if I leave it in the company, the next year I have to pay taxes in the prior year for the corporation, and then if I take that money out personally, I have to pay taxes on it again.
Right.
So I'm getting taxed on the exact same dollars.
Yeah.
So I might as well just take it out and create individual income tax, which is what everybody wants. So the idea that corporations need to pay nonsense.
Yeah. Okay. That's a whole nother subject, but I'm with you exactly on that. Then you see we have Social Security and retirement receipts, two very large dollar items after the corporate tax. You notice it says off budget, non-budget, and this is this. We call it a game, Social Security payments do not go directly to pay Social Security benefits. They go into a trust fund. And before we finish tonight, I want to show you that because that's one of the most interesting sections of this particular report. We might jump to it shortly here. So money goes from there to the Social Security Trust Fund, and then the benefits are paid out of the trust fund. That's the off-budget piece. But the rather nicely, the Treasury puts it all together. It's like, well, what the heck? Well, it's on budget, off budget. It's the money in, money out. So we got to track it all. So and that's what they do. Down below those the totals then for total receipts are they provide the breakout then by department or by program, and you can see there that and we've looked at this in a show a couple of months ago in a different format. You can see Department of Defense military programs, $506 billion.
What is the Department of the Interior? What is it that they do?
National parks.
Really?
Yeah, among other things. Yeah,
but that would be the Department of the Exterior. Sometimes I'm just
all right. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Other big pieces on here. You can see Department of Health and Human Services, $659 billion.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. And
education. Very big.
Education. Where's that? Well, $46 billion.
Oh, sorry. No, I was looking.
Yeah. You're looking.
I had to highlight across.
Yeah.
46. No, that's not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, comparatively, what do I know? I have no idea if that's a lot.
600. Well, I mean, it's these are all in billions here, so it's all of these numbers are large numbers. But,
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
I see Hillary Clinton's budget in here.
You're scanning all down.
$17 billion. Nice.
Health and the Department of Health and Human Services, that's $650, almost $660 billion.
Is he the winner?
Those are that's largely payments for Medicare, and then for the Medicaid grants that go to states. It's actually, the states incur the expense, but they get large reimbursements from the federal government. So
Medicare or Medicaid.
Gotcha. You see, there's $385 billion in interest on the Treasury debt.
385. Yes, that is the interest on the Treasury debt. Explain that one to me.
Okay. Well, we've borrowed $14 trillion from the world.
Okay.
And that's the interest we got to pay to
okay, gotcha.
Money, right? Okay.
Then
the next
so
big
that
item
goes to China. Gotcha. Very good.
So some portion of it goes there. Actually, the interesting thing is some portion of it gets paid to the Federal Reserve, which then gives it back to the government. So Ben Bernanke noted that in his semi-annual report to Congress the other day that in fact the Fed was actually, of course, paying back to the government some of the very interest that it's paying to the Fed. Down below. Further down, just before the subtotal down there, $2.7 trillion, you see Social Security Administration at $584 billion. So those are the dollar items. Big numbers here, and we've talked in past programs about the challenge of getting these things in balance because, when we're out of balance $1 trillion here, it's hard to take it out of spending without touching the big dollar items, and the big dollar items are the entitlement programs. You could wipe everything else out, wouldn't even get near to balancing. So,
NASA,
right,
$13 billion.
Yeah, so
that's a drop in the bucket. They're one of the low guys.
Sure, and of course that's going lower. In the subsequent pages to this, this is Table 3, Table 4. Table 4 and then Table 5. Which goes on for pages and pages, gives you detail by department. And believe me, that's mind-numbing to go through all of that. But it's there, and, for the informed citizen who wants to know, well, you can go there and find that out. But here in the last minute, and we are going a little bit over here, but the last table I want to show you is actually on page 34. So it's almost... it's Table 8, the next to the last table in the.
All right.
Okay.
Finding it. Page 26. Page 31. 34, you say?
Page 34, right.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay. This page has two interesting charts in it. The top one shows the trust fund impact on budget results. And we've ended up in some past programs talking about several of the items on here. And if we were just to go down the set of 3 columns in the middle, the fiscal year to date.
Fiscal year to date, okay.
This shows,
you want me to zoom on just on those?
Yeah. This shows, first of all, it shows the major trust funds that the government runs. Not everything runs directly through the checkbook. Some of it goes into these trust funds, which then some money goes in and out. And you can see the funds that have surpluses or the more money's going into than is coming out of, and funds where the opposite is the case. So one of the particular, the big one here with a $16 billion excess of outlays over receipts is federal disability insurance. And of course, there are some notorious cases having to do with that, but we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have receipts, outlays, and excess.
Right.
Excess is plus or minus.
Right.
Surplus deficit.
Right. One of the other ones that we've talked about recently is the Federal Highway Fund. That's just under hazardous substances, Superfund, and there's highways. And you can see, as we noted in a program we did a couple weeks ago, that in fact we are spending more than we're taking in the Federal Highway Fund, and that's funded with gasoline taxes. So we're paying more. We're paying more to maintain highways than we're collecting in revenues, and of course,
the gas prices are out of control.
Yeah, so that's
well, you skipped over this one here. This big 12. Are these in billions? Millions.
Yeah.
These are in millions?
It's millions,
but it's to be 12 billion.
Yeah.
The Federal Hospital Insurance.
Yeah, now that
What's
I have
that.
I have to admit I'm not knowledgeable about that, so we'll have to come back to that one.
All right.
The big one below it though is Federal Old Age and Survivors Insurance. That's the fancy term for the Social Security Trust Fund, and you can see that at this point, we're still collecting more in federal and Social Security taxes than we're paying out. The trust fund so far year to date's gone up by almost $100 billion. So we're still accumulating money in that trust fund.
Right.
And if you go over to the right in the columns that Brian may not, you can see what the balance is in that trust fund. It's almost almost $2.5 trillion.
$2.5 trillion.
Yeah, $2.5 trillion. So
okay.
So of course, where is that $2.5 trillion? Well, it's invested, and it's invested just like, for example, the retirement trust fund for the town of West Hartford. It's invested in bonds, and particularly, what bonds are it invested? Is it invested in? It's invested in U.S. Treasury bonds. So, the guy at the Social Security office collects all the receipts, and he's got let's see, what did he collect so far year to date? If we're going to look at that line, well, he collected $548 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So what does he do? Well, he goes over to the Treasury and says, "Well, I got to invest this." So the Treasury says, "Great, we'll sell you some treasuries."
Yeah.
So the guy walks away with a bunch of Treasury bills or notes, whatever, and the Treasury's got $548 billion. Of course, what do they do with that? They go and spend it on all the programs because they need the cash. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So
is it? So it's really not a. It's almost like a banker. He takes your money, and when you make a deposit into your savings account, it's not like the money just sits there.
Right.
That bank goes and uses it for stuff, hopefully to generate more revenue for itself, and it plays, plays the spread and whatever. So this is the federal government playing the spread.
Right, but
they're not doing a very good job.
But by law, they have to invest this in the safest securities they can, which just so happen to be Treasury securities, which just so happens to leave the money in the hands of the Treasury then. But and that's okay. The problem is that Congress, in managing the fiscal affairs of the nation, has known that, well, yeah, the Treasury's collecting this cash. So we don't have to collect it in taxes because we're collecting it with all these receipts. But we owe ourselves $4 trillion of money that might have otherwise been socked away, but instead has been used,
Well, then could you make a case that treasuries are not the safest investment, that the taxing authority of the United States government is not as safe of a bet or hedge against a downturn in the economy as, say, investing in General Electric?
Well, Brian, ask me that in 15 days, and then we'll know.
This was really cool. I would like to do more of this.
Okay.
I would like to dive deeper into this, and I think that the listeners out there would really get a kick of looking at the actual numbers, leaving all the rhetoric and hoopla aside. This is what happens.
Yeah.
And here are the numbers to prove it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's do that then. We'll figure out some way, and we're a little bit over. I should go back then to our friends at Deepwater Seafood.
Gosh. Speaking of revenues and ins and outs.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
So anyway, Deepwater Seafood out in Farmington Valley's freshest seafood store. Organic salmon, sushi-grade tuna, Arctic char, Carolina swordfish, Chilean sea bass, red snapper, deep sea scallops, oysters, all that great seafood stuff that you love, I love. It's fully prepped or almost prepped for dinner, depending on how you want it. They're open Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., Saturday, 10 to 5. Call them ahead. Order at 860-676-9657.
It would be convenient if I could order by fax.
Or, right, funny you should ask that. You can order by fax, 860-677-2281. Yes, 2281. 677-2281.
We should really get them on order by email. Order by Twitter. How about order by Facebook?
Soups, bisques, chowders, they're all fresh. Great stuff. Order it, take it to a Rockcats game.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Can you tailgate outside the Rockcats?
I don't know. It's been more than a year since I've been there, so not sure.
Okay.
Anyway, so folks, it's been fun. Brian, that's as always. And folks, this is Albert Brenner, the Economic Observer. I will see you not next week, but in 2 weeks.
We'll see you there.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.
Carving out an online presence on the Horn. On thehorn.com.
The day